Welcome to the Listen for Life Aphasia podcast. I'm your host, Genevieve, and I have another great topic to share with you today. I was recently invited to participate in what was called Moonshot. It was all about caregiving and what does the community need. And if we could each make our one moonshot, like, giant wish, think of it like that. What would we do for caregivers? How would we support them? What kind of services and needs do they have? Well, it was during this meeting that I met our next guest, Livie, who's going to join us in just a moment here. And she is with CareYaya. You're thinking, Yaya, what in the world is this? But she's going to tell us all about it because it's an amazing organization that is really filling a gap. It's meeting the needs of a community, and you are just going to love how this works. So before we bring her up, let's jump into the episode.
Welcome to the Listen for Life podcast with Genevieve Richardson. Genevieve is a speech-language pathologist rehabilitating adults with communication challenges after a stroke or due to a neurological impairment. Get equipped with knowledge from experts in the field and professionals you need to know. We'll hear stories and experiences from others who are navigating life with aphasia. So, put your earphones in and take a walk outside. This isn't just a podcast. This is a community, a resource, and a support system. We're in this together. Do life.
Livie, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
That's great. So, Olivia Gallagher, you are here in Austin and you are an intern at CareYaya.
Yes, I am. So I'm a senior at the University of Texas at Austin. I'm studying health and society on a nursing track. And I found CareYaya because I was looking for resources for my grandparents who live in South Dakota, and they were really needing some companion type care. So I was kind of looking on just the general job websites, and the CareYaya ad popped up, and it was for a student ambassador. So they were asking for somebody who went to UT Austin or who studied in Phoenix, Arizona, which is where I'm from, to come and help kind of spread the word about CareYaya and what we do. So what is CareYaya? Yaya literally means grandmother or caregiver in several languages. So our founder came up with the name CareYaya for that reason. He used to take care of his mom, and then he took care of his wife when she had cancer as well. So he definitely understands the difficulties that arise with caregiving, and he kind of wants to make a platform that makes caregiving easier for all the families that have someone to care for. So CareYaya connects student caregivers with families in the area who need companion type care. So currently we service kind of the elderly population, and we are now expanding to autism. But our pre-health caregivers, they're anyone who's studying medicine or interested in medicine, or honestly, people who just want to help other people around them and kind of get these good experiences with a different generation. And we connect them to families in the area who need help with like taking out the trash or making sure that that person is taking their medications every day, and kind of just your general non-medical related healthcare stuff. So kind of anything that's just considered companion type care.
So let's break this down a little bit because this is a really different model from what people are used to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think this is so incredibly special. Like, I wish this were around when I was studying speech pathology, because I totally would have done this, because I live for the stories. That's why I have always worked with adult clients, because I love the stories. So healthcare professionals, students studying to be doctors, nurses, physical, occupational, speech pathology, and I would think anything else like dietetics or anybody going into a health-related field. But not every student gets accepted to be a companion caregiver for CareYaya. Can you talk a little bit about what the process was like and kind of what you're looking for in a student that's going to work for CareYaya?
Yeah, totally. So our main thing is we're looking for students who really have a passion for helping people. That's honestly what it boils down to. We've had students that aren't even pre-health majors or intending on going to nursing school or med school or whatever it
Okay.
is after. But they have expressed, hey, I've seen that this is a big issue for people, or my grandparents have gone through something similar. Like in my case, we can't find care for them that's good, solid care. So really what we look for is somebody that's very passionate about helping people, and then I would say we also look, of course, we do the background checks and stuff like that. But everyone completes an interview, and that interview is kind of their time to tell us why they think they should be accepted to this program and why they would be a good caregiver for these people. So, the main thing that we're looking for in these interviews and responses is somebody that is showing that they care about taking care of people and is a
Mhm.
really good, genuine person. That's really the main thing that we're looking for. And then, of course, people who are in pre-med are probably the ones that are going to be seeking these opportunities for the most part because they're looking for these jobs for med school experience, PA school hours, stuff like that. So we've generally found that most of our caregivers are from this pre-med kind of track, but we of course have students that are not on that pre-med track but who are just really passionate about helping people and doing something important.
That you got my wheels turning in that how many on so many different levels why this is so tremendous. Number one, for you, the student that has this passion to work with this group of people, because you get even more experience. It's not just your grandparents anymore. You're now getting more breadth and depth of experience with a greater variety of people.
Mhm.
And I think for the folks that you're serving, they don't have to be seniors, right? They just have to have a need. They
Yeah.
have yeah.
Hmm.
They have to have a need, and that gives them the opportunity to connect with and expand their network. Because what we do know from attending that Moonshot kind of meeting that we had is how many folks are isolated
Yeah.
because people
Hmm.
have fallen away because it's harder to communicate, whether it's a dementia, an autism, aphasia, which is the community I serve, and or just somebody that lives out in the boonies. And we'll definitely talk. Let's circle back around to the boonies and what you guys have to offer for that.
Hmm.
I just see this intergenerational
100%.
connection. Like it
Mhm.
gives me chills. I was reading up again on the website about it. And oh, folks, I will put up here. Here's the website. Put it down there at the bottom so anybody can check it out. It's a very nice website. They've got some nice videos, easy to understand explanations. So don't miss out on that website. So what is your benefit? What have you gained personally, not only being an intern and kind of a spokesperson because you represented CareYaya at Moonshot,
Mhm.
but when you go into somebody's home?
I feel like the biggest thing that I've taken away is just realizing how much life these people have lived and how it's so different from the life that I've lived. So it's really that intergenerational connection, I feel like, is the biggest thing. And I feel like a lot of these people definitely suffer from loneliness. So being able to come in and talk to them and have this really great conversation that completely changes their mood, I think has been the most beneficial part to me, especially with my grandparents. They live in a tiny town in the boonies, like you said. So they are really craving that kind of conversation and human aspect that we all crave of communicating. And I feel like just by sitting with my grandparents and talking to them and learning about how their life used to be has been super life changing for me as well. And I feel like it kind of gives me a reality check in some ways, being like, oh, wait, life wasn't always like this, or this person has all these things that happened to them, and that's what's made them this person, or they were alive when presidents died and stuff like that. All these crazy life changing events or during wars. My papa is a veteran. So I feel like just being able to go in and talk to someone who has lived an entire life before I was even born or alive
Mhm.
has just been crazy. And then obviously with this as well, you're getting these hours too. So all these hours can count towards that med school, PA school, nursing school, etc. And you're also getting paid. So I feel like for a lot of the pre-med students especially, there are no opportunities to get paid and get the hours that you need to
Ah,
look good on med school applications. So CareYaya actually has the families pay our student caregivers directly. So you can do Venmo, you can write them checks, stuff like that. And we actually don't even take any profit out of that. So the platform's running completely free. So the student is getting all of that money directly to them. And that price is ranging from 17 to 25 an hour currently. And that's just kind of dependent on how long that student is working. So obviously you're getting your intergenerational connections and learning
Mhm.
so much about this whole life that was happening before you're even born. And then you're also getting the monetary positive as well. So you're getting paid
Yeah.
to have fun with these people, honestly, is what it is. Like, it's not hard. It's easier than babysitting, honestly. I'm a
Oh,
nanny.
yeah.
And so this is so much better than babysitting because you're really just talking to these people and you're just helping them, kind of taking the trash out or helping them unload their groceries. And so I feel like it's a really great way to just kind of build these connections with people and also get paid for doing it.
Let's talk about, you had used the word companion care. Can we be real specific and define that? Because I want to have the compare and contrast from like a home care company versus a home health company. So home health care is like the therapists and the nurses and the social workers coming in, and it's usually paid for like Medicare or some other insurance that's very medically based. But then you're doing companion care versus home care.
hmm Yeah, so companion care is basically any type of care that does not involve medical instructions or training. So it's really just kind of like basic housekeeping, meal preparation, medication distribution, medication management is probably a better word, and just kind of conversations and talking. So it's really any type of care that students do not have to be trained to do. So we
Okay.
are not allowed to do any type of medical care. So if you have like diabetes or something, we can't give you your insulin, but we can say,
Right.
hey, it's time to take your insulin. Um,
Gotcha.
or if you have like an ostomy bag or something like that, we can't touch that or do anything related to that. We can
Mhm.
put the supplies down from the cabinet, but we can't actually hand it to you and help you do that.
Gotcha.
Um, we really make sure that our students know that they are not allowed to do anything medical related. And if they are asked to do something medically related, then we will remove that family from the platform just because that our students are not medically trained. They cannot be doing medical things for our families. So we really prioritize the health and safety of both the person getting the care and our caregivers. So really, companion care is any type of care that is kind of like basic housekeeping needs or basic survival needs, I guess. So lunches, medicines, cleaning, unloading the dishwasher, stuff like that.
Is it anything outside of the house? Can you transport to appointments? Is that, because I know there's a gray line there.
hmm There's
What
definitely a gray line with that one.
is it, more to think about everything that happens inside or right around like the physical property of the house?
Yeah, it's definitely more inside of the house, I would say. I just think there are a lot of liabilities that pop up when you need
Sure.
transport, and we want to try and come up with a solution to that because we want to be able to help with transport since that is such a big need. My grandma actually just lost her license because her vision went so poor, and
Mm,
now she's stuck out on a farm and we don't know how to get her groceries. So we're trying to problem solve that. So I think
yeah.
that'll come up in the future of how we're going to problem solve that. But right
Mhm.
now, we are limiting to kind of the home just for liability reasons.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
So I would imagine when a student comes into a house, you'd like to work probably more than 2 hours because you got to drive to and fro. So is there a minimum amount of time a student would want to come into the house? How does that kind of work? Because you also have a school schedule.
Yeah. So I would say it's very dependent on the student's schedule. So the student is the one who's going to go into the platform and accept these care opportunities or not.
Okay.
So the family is not going and picking who they want and when they want them. It's the student
Ah,
going, oh, I want this family at this time because this works for me. So it's definitely more student centered in that way to really help make sure that students are able to do this and it's not taking away from their class time. But I will say we found that a lot of students like the overnight shifts especially when overnight shifts are just kind of like, hey, my mom's 96 years old. She needs help when she gets up to go to the bathroom at night. Can you walk her into the bathroom, leave while she goes to the bathroom, and then come back and walk her back to bed to make sure she's not falling? So for something like that, we would have students get paid probably around that $17 range every hour, and it's usually like a 12-hour shift. So it'd be like 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And during that time, a lot of our families will provide the students with their own room or the living room or something like that, and like a baby monitor so they know when that person wakes up in the middle of the night. But really, the student is able to either sleep or watch TV or do homework, whatever, like that.
Yeah.
But I will say there are students who like taking just a 2-hour shift, I think that's also very beneficial, which is why we kind of have that range in our price. So if it's just a 2-hour shift, we found that students are more likely to take it if it's priced at $25 an hour versus the 17. So in that case, I would say there are students who want to just come for 2 or 3 hours, but to make it worth it, to make their time worth it, it's going to
Yeah.
have to be a $25 per hour payment.
Yeah. Which is still much less expensive than a home
Yeah.
care agency.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I can see this overnight thing is something I really want to emphasize, because how awesome is that?
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
remember when I was in grad school, I had a babysitting gig, and I would be there at like starting at dinner. And once the child got to sleep, like out, and we
Mhm.
verified, then I could leave because the parent was there. The parent just didn't want to
Mhm.
go through that nighttime routine. And that was great for me because it was relatively easy and consistent. And I did it 3, 4 nights a week.
Mhm.
And I could study in between as he's going to sleep. I can see the overnight really being a great way of giving respite to an overworked spouse or care partner for
Mhm.
someone. Maybe they need to get out and recharge, but
Yeah.
know that their loved one is being well looked after.
100%. I mean, we just had a family who was in desperate need of care. The son was going out of town for the weekend, and his 96-year-old mom was about to be by herself. And so he needed somebody to come and just stay the night with her and make sure she wasn't falling when she went to the bathroom, because she's already fallen like 4 times this year and broke her hip and her arm and all this crazy, horrible
Got it.
stuff. And so one of my friends, actually, we recruited her just for this job opportunity. And she is super sweet, loves elderly people, but she's like a finance major. But she went and did this for him while he was gone for the whole weekend and loved it because she said it was so flexible. She got there at 7 p.m. She met the lady. The lady went to bed around 7:30, and she woke up once in the middle of the night and just took her to the bathroom, and she got paid $200 and change just for doing that. So I think it's super flexible, and it's a really great opportunity for a lot of these students because, one, the hours, they get to pick them. So if they have a
Mhm.
super busy school schedule or they're working another job or something like that, they can literally pick any gig that they want that lines up with their schedule. And then they can also kind of pick which price range they want. So, if
Mhm.
you do 3 hours a day, they're still getting paid $25 an hour. So that's
Sure.
a lot more money they're making doing this type of care versus like going and working at Starbucks or something. So I think it's super beneficial for students and the families because the students like doing this stuff. I think it's really fun for us to walk into these homes and meet these people and kind of build a connection with these families
Mhm.
and really understand, their life and how they used to live and how they're currently living. And then they're also getting paid for it and it's on their own time. So I think it's a really great situation that's a win-win for everyone.
And it's going to make you be a better human too, because you have this experience. One other thing I want to point out, I really appreciate you being upfront about the pay, because I think we all get squeamish about what things cost.
Mhm.
And but it's just a reality. Do you want a healthcare probable student that's coming in to have kind of a relationship with your person, being a helper, being a companion, and I just think we don't have enough conversations about the realities. Is it's a time money exchange.
Mhm.
It just is.
Yeah. I
It just
mean, I feel like there's no reason to beat around the bush about it
Yeah,
because healthcare in general is so expensive, and
it
I
is.
feel like we pretty much are the cheapest platform that gives care for people and that gives good care to people. So I feel like, you look at these home health services or whatever agencies that they have that aren't using students, they're using CNAs or something like that, and they're charging like 50 to 75 an hour. So we are half of that and we are much more affordable. And I feel like that is able to, excuse me, provide a lot of respite for these families and make sure, hey,
Mhm.
like, no, you actually can get some help and you can go out and have that dinner
That's
and
right.
be, who you were before you were a full-time caregiver. So I feel like
Mhm.
we're really kind of bridging that gap between people who can afford to get respite care and are still caregiving for their loved ones and the people who can't. That being said, of course, I know some families can't even afford our prices, and that's really sad. But I know that there are so many agencies out there that are willing to help. I've met with several of the other agencies from the Caregiving Moonshot, and they have said, hey, we kind of have a fund for respite caregiving,
Oh, good.
and we could include you guys on that as well. And we can kind of talk about that a little bit more, send some information about that stuff later, since that's linked to other agencies as well. So I don't want to say it right now. But there are places out there
Yeah.
and foundations that have a pot of funds for exactly
Mhm.
this. And with us, you can even have more care hours because we are not charging as much as all these other agencies. So I think that's something really great that we're doing.
And if the person that needs the companion care really hits it off with a student, this is something that could be like a weekly basis, something consistent
100%.
for
Mhm.
them to look forward to, for the student to look forward to, and for the care partner who's getting the respite or is
Mhm.
getting a little bit of extra help. I mean, I talk to my care partner so much about burnout and how
Mhm.
to catch it before it happens.
Mhm.
And that's why I was just so excited to hear about your guys' model because I think it really does bridge a huge gap.
Mhm. Yeah,
Period.
I agree. 100%. That's exactly what Neil was trying to do. He realized that all the services that were available to him were really expensive and not that great. So he decided to come up with CareYaya because he thought this was the solution. All these eager college students are here and they're waiting and they're hungry for these service hours and they're hungry for getting this experience and they want to talk to these people. And he wants to encourage this intergenerational relationships, especially since, the elderly people especially are suffering from a loneliness crisis right now.
Mhm.
And so I feel like this platform is kind of the perfect com- combination of all of these things. Like it's really
Absolutely.
solving the problem that's happening in the
Really
healthcare.
is. Yeah, super neat. Okay, so let's pivot and talk about the person that's out in the boonies because you guys have a very interesting service. Is it still being developed or is it available now?
It is available now. I will say that we found that most students are not willing to drive more than 45 minutes to an hour to get to
Sure.
someplace. So to kind of remedy that, we have either increased the travel time. So we've allotted I'm pretty sure it's 23 cents per mile. So caregivers will get paid for the time that they're commuting to and from their
Mhm.
home to the family.
Yes.
So we've kind of tried to use that to solve one of those problems, but I will say if you are within an hour drive from a major university that we currently have students at, it is likely that we can get you care. So like in Austin, I will drive to Georgetown or I'll drive to Round Rock or something like that.
Hmm.
That's still kind of in that zone. And we
Yeah.
found that as long as the care providers are getting compensated for that time that they've spent traveling out there, especially if it's over 30 minutes, then they are much more willing to come out and do that.
Sure. So let's talk about your AI phone calls.
Yes.
Unpack this. For those of you who have not worked with AI, some of us have, I'm really excited about this possibility. Can you tell us about AI phone calls? Explain it as if we've never heard the abbreviation AI before.
Okay. So AI is artificial intelligence. So it's basically your computer is figuring out how to talk to you and interact with you. I actually got to experience our AI phone call, which was a crazy experience. But CareYaya actually developed this AI technology themselves. So we've been working on it from the get-go. And, we've problem solved. We make sure if there's an error that pops up, we fix it. We test it with myself or Neil or anyone else on the team. And It's really cheap. It's about $1. It's costing us about $1 for a 15-minute phone call. So what you can do is you can call the AI actually calls you, which is pretty crazy. So you give the AI your phone number, you call it, it knows your name because we type it in and say, hey, this is Olivia Gallagher. She's from Austin. She's currently visiting her grandparents in South Dakota. So the AI called me and said, hi, I'm some name. Like, I want to catch up with you, Livie, and see how you're doing at your grandparents' house. And we had the most random conversation about alpacas and how my grandpa's a farmer in Britain, South Dakota, and how I grew up driving tractors. And he taught me how to drive when I was like 8 years old and just let me loose on the street and all this crazy stuff. And the AI was able to keep up with me and have a full on conversation with me for 15 minutes. And
As
it hurt.
I wish we had thought to set it up for this recording that, yeah,
We can
maybe
do another one.
we'll do
Don't
it. We'll
worry.
do another recording because
Yes.
this is blowing my
Mhm.
mind.
Yeah, I was trying to trip up the AI because Neil was like, you're a college kid. You've grown up with this technology. You're going to tell when this is something kind of fishy versus Neil or an elderly person who might not pick it up. But I was trying to test this thing and catch it up, and I was not able to. So it was keeping up with me the whole time. My alpaca story, I mean, come on. How was the AI supposed to know that I was going to talk about alpacas? And somehow it still had this whole conversation about alpacas with me and how they spit at people and how I've had an alpaca spit at me several times on my grandpa's farm and all this stuff. So honestly, it's just this crazy technology that I really think can solve this loneliness crisis we're seeing in all of our elderly people. I mean, my grandparents included. I know my grandma, she feels so lonely and isolated out on her farm. And if she had an AI calling her every day, she probably wouldn't even realize that it was AI. It could be one of her
Right.
friends from the past or something
Mhm.
like that. And I really think that would be a game changer for her because she's kind of getting that human connection without an actual human having to do it. But our AI is able to do it and
Yeah.
foster this connection with her. And it could kind of build up to be this friendship for her, something she looks forward to every week. We can program the AI to call you every Thursday at 10 a.m. And so, my grandma, she has some early dementia symptoms. And one thing that works really well for her is consistency. So if she had a weekly phone call every Thursday at 10 a.m., she would really look forward to that thing. Right now she has her weekly haircuts, and that's like the highlight of her week is going to get her haircut at the hairdresser.
Right.
So I feel like if we can offer this technology to more people, it's really life-changing for so many of these elderly people that are isolated. And I also think that the AI does a really great job of slowly talking so you can, one, understand it, and two, you can process what they're saying. So like my grandma, you can say something to her, but it's going to take her a minute to actually respond and process what you just said to her. And the AI accounts for that. So it talks slowly. It's very clear in what it's saying. You don't have any of like the human stuttering or slurring of words or anything like that. And it can also process what the human is saying better than I think I could with my own ears. So it might pick up for someone who has a speech impediment or something like that, or is a little slurred in their speaking. It might be able to process what you're saying better than an actual human could.
Well, that's where AI could really work well for aphasia because some
100%.
people use like telegraphic speech, meaning they give the nouns and the verbs and much less of the little words. But the
Mm-hmm.
computer, I mean, if chat can understand me when I can't, my typing has really gone down, like my accuracy, and it still gets it. So I know that AI can compensate for
Mm-hmm.
speech. And I think that's tremendous. Now, I have a question. What if, can the AI learn your grandma? So if that was that phone call on Thursdays at 10, would it remember the previous story? So if she went back to a previous story, could it continue on with it or what?
Yeah,
I know
I
it's still in development, but I'm just thinking like all the different ways this could be
I
used.
definitely think it can kind of have that storage and bring it back up, but even if she kind of just mentioned it slightly again, it can kind of pick up on what was said
Yeah.
previously, I think. So, I mean, in my phone call, it was only 15 minutes, but I mentioned something in the beginning and then I brought it up again at the end, and it recognized that I had already talked about that and kind of knew what I had said about it already.
Hmm.
So I will say
Interesting.
it does have that capability, I don't want to say 100%. It's
I
going to
know,
regulate
I know.
everything you say to it and stuff like
We could talk for hours about, well, I
that.
could talk for hours about this because I just think it's an
It's
exciting.
super exciting. It's really
Um,
awesome.
so what are is there a geography limitation for these AI phone calls? Somebody doesn't have to live in Austin, do they?
No. So I was in Bryn, South Dakota when I got my AI phone call. So really, I
Yeah.
think as long as you're in the United States, we don't have any limit to it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really
Wow.
awesome. Hmm.
Okay. So, could is there a way on the website that the family could sign up for something like this, or is it just slowly getting rolled out right now?
It is definitely slowly getting rolled out because we have built it up from the ground. And so, any bugs that pop up, we're fixing them
Okay.
consistently. I will say we are trying to have it at the nursing home at my grandparents' town in Britain. So we're going to try and kind of demo it there and have it call all of the residents for about a
Oh,
week and kind of see how that goes. And that I think is going to be the
love
real test of
that.
it. And then I think we're going to try and actually roll it out once we kind of have that group testing. Because right now it's really just been the AI has been calling the people on the CareYaya team and talking to us about it. So I think the real
Wow.
test will be when we get it to the nursing home.
Neat. Oh, I love this.
Hmm.
Okay, so last thing, well, there might be more, but the last thing on my mind is I just want to circle back to where is Care Yaya now and where can people find out if it's in their area?
Hmm. So if you go on the website and you click on the FAQs, you can scroll down to where can I get care?
Mhm.
And then we have all of the states listed there. So basically, if you have a major university in the states that are listed, we can probably get you care. So right now, we have California, Florida, Georgia, Massachusetts, Michigan, North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, Washington, D.C., and Arizona,
Neat.
specifically Phoenix and Arizona. We're working on
Mhm.
expanding to Phoenix right now. So those areas, we have a lot of students signed up, especially in Austin. We have a huge amount of student providers, and we don't have enough families. So we would love to get more families so all
Mm.
the students can actually be working. But if you go to the website and look at the FAQs, like I said, it has the universities that we currently have students at listed. Arizona is not currently on that list because we are still expanding to Arizona. But it is there, and we do have the care there. It's just not on the list yet.
So amazing. Well, I love the work you guys are doing. I love the innovation, filling the gap for both you guys, the students, as well as the individuals that get to receive. And I really think of it as it's like a gift. You're receiving companion care, and that's really really exciting.
Yeah, I've loved working for this company so far. And I think, we have a really great mission because Neil himself, our CEO, has seen how harsh this is to try and care for these people by yourself. And he knows that there are not good options out there. So I feel like he really tried to problem solve this issue. And he found a solution in these eager college students that are good people and kind hearted and are really doing it because this is what they love to do and want to do in the future. And I think that is so important to have a caregiver that you can trust, that's reliable, and that isn't in it just for the money. They're actually in it because this is what they want to do with their lives. And I feel like that has lowered the risk of any incidents happening, like someone stealing or taking advantage, because these students are doing this because they love to do it. It's not because they're getting paid. That's just a bonus. I feel like that's really eliminated the issue of having someone coming in and taking advantage of these people, especially the elderly population. And my family's seen how easy it is for our grandparents to get taken advantage of. And so I feel like this kind of service is something that really helps kind of bridge that problem and solve that gap that we have. And it's making sure that people are coming into your house that actually want to be there and want to build these connections with these people and make sure that they're getting the best help. And all of these students know that the healthcare crisis right now is a problem, and we're trying to solve that. So I feel like we are really kind-hearted, and all these students are really doing it for the right reason. And that kind of reassures me, especially with my grandparents getting the care. I'm not worried about the student coming in and taking advantage of them, but I know that they're coming in and they're helping my grandma feel less lonely, and they're talking to her and they're learning about her stories, or they're eating the cookies that she's baking and she loves that stuff. So I think it's a really great company, and I'm so happy to be part of it.
Well, Libby, thank you for coming on the podcast today and sharing the story of CareYaya. And everyone, you need to check out the website especially if you're here in the Austin area. Apply. I believe it's only 2 minutes. 2
Mm-hmm.
minutes to
2 minutes.
apply, and that gets the ball rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Libby, thank you for being here. And
Thank
we'll
you
talk
so
to you
much,
again
Jenny.
as you guys have more initiatives rolling out, and maybe we can demo one of those. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Livie.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Listen for Life podcast. We hope you feel empowered and supported. Head over to listenforlifepodcast.com to see the show notes with links and information from today's episode. Do you have a topic, a resource to share, or a guest recommendation? Inquiring minds want to know. Let us know in the comments section. Wishing you a fabulous week.